Hi, welcome again to season 2.5 of the Altoona Mirror High School Football Preview Show on our YouTube channel. This is our preview for the upcoming season, which will kick off on Friday night, August 23rd, when we will have tons of teams in action. Again, I'm joined by the Mirror's High School Football beat writer, Mike Boydham. We're going to talk a little bit about some new coaches in the area. We're going to talk about the new Altoona offense under their new coach, Vince Niemeyer Jr., and a couple other things. But first, Mike, some of the new coaches, we have quite a list here. Who are some of the ones that are jumping out at you that you're looking forward to watching this year?
Well, it's just weird how it seems that it was almost like there was a trade because Nick Felix got to go home to Penn Cambria. He left Altoona, and then Altoona got Vince Niemeyer, but then because because Felix went to Penn Cambria, that opening was created by John Franco, who went back to Tyrone. So we kind of had like a three-way trade there, and Felix gets to go home, Franco gets to go home, and it's just it's pretty interesting in how much different the whole layout of high school football is this year, with just so many different coaches in so many different places.
And like, for instance, Forest Hills, no Don Bailey. Don Bailey, I swear, I know in 1982-83, my senior year, we played Forest Hills. That was back when it was called the Mountain Conference Championship, and Don Bailey was the coach. And he's not the coach anymore, and he's now step aside for
Justin Myers.
Justin Myers, who used to be the coach of
Cambria Heights.
And
if you go even a little further out of that, how about down at Juniata? Klingensmith is now retired as well.
Gary Klingensmith, just on the outskirts of District 6, he had been coach at Juniata, some 40?
I think it's 50 years.
Yeah, I mean, he was in his 70s, and he decided to retire, and they named the field after him, the stadium after him, so they have a new coach down there. It's a Condo, Kurt Condo, PO connection there. And then we got Glendale has a new coach, Dave Trexler, Spanky Trexler, a BG kid. Mountain Union just got their coach.
Right, in July.
Yeah. I mean, he was a ninth grade coach. All of a sudden, some stuff happened there. He takes over the program. His name is, again, Mike
Rob Turner.
Yeah, now, boom. This guy goes from ninth grade to coaching varsity. Williamsburg, Bob Hearn has stepped aside. They got some young blood down there.
Ryan Heilman.
This guy knows all the names. And then Everett's kind of been a revolving door.
Well, Winston did a good job there last year. They went 8-4, but the defensive coordinator from last year, Dave Leitner, is now taking over as the head coach.
So that'll be interesting to see, because now Everett has expectations now. And then Altoona, Vince Niemeyer Jr. Vince played there. Vince has been an assistant. He was an assistant at Holliesburg there for a little bit, so now he comes back to Altoona to take over. Felix just kind of never got it going. I think 3 wins was the most they had in his 3 years.
Yeah, last year they went 3-7.
Yeah, which leads us to our transition, which is I'm working on that. The new offense at Altoona, which Mike can describe it better. Last year it was a no huddle, just boom, 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 right?
Yeah, Coach Felix and them, they worked on, with Connor Adams, they threw the ball, and McCarthy at quarterback. They were able to throw the ball pretty well. But they're going to try to slow it down a little bit this year and play more of a military-style offense, which will be interesting to see how that plays out. Altoona lost several close games last year. They could have went 5-5, and the hope is that they can try to, win some of those close games and even things out. But this is a long-term plan at Altoona, and the junior high kids went undefeated last year. So there's some hope for the future that he has to work with.
Yeah, their ninth grade team. I saw their ninth grade team for 3 years. They have some very good athletes on that team. And for those of you down there, that military offense, that's basically like if you've watched Army, if you've watched Georgia Tech, those offenses where everything is condensed. The only receiver really in the formation is like a tight end. You have like a quarterback, you have 3 backs, you have a Y back. There's lots of motion. For people from the Cove area and Ridge and Holliesburg who saw Fort Hill, runs a very similar offense to that. And it gets long, sustained drives. And if you keep your defense fresh and off the field, you can stay in these games more. So I'm curious to see, because that's an entirely different type of offense. I know their first first scrimmage was against Selinsgrove, so I'm anxious to see how that ended up turning out because they play Hollidaysburg the first game of the season on the 23rd. The next thing we wanted to talk about was the big surprise at the end last year was when Juniata Valley knocked off BG in the playoffs at, I believe it was Tiger Stadium.
No, they actually played at Mansion Park.
They played at Mansion Park.
Even
So
though
BG's
Juniata Valley
home
was the higher seed.
And I think you covered that, right?
No, I didn't cover
You
that.
did? Who was
game,
it?
but-
Was it Jim? Because I was in the office. We were listening on some kind of radio. And I kept going, BG's going to come back. BG's going to come back. And they didn't. Juniata Valley held on. That was a heck of a win.
Yeah, and Juniata Valley had a lot of good talent that has graduated, but Coach Musser says that they are committed to making sure that that's just the beginning and not the end of, not a fluke season. They want that to be something they build on and continue that success. So, you know, last year they opened the season with a loss to Everett, and they opened the season with Everett again this year. So,
and Claysburg-Kimball played them tough last year, right?
Claysburg's very tough.
Yeah.
There was a fourth down stand in the playoffs, or it could have been Claysburg playing against Bishop Guilfoyle.
And Juniata Valley has to replace Zenobel, right? I mean,
Right.
he was kind of like
Our
their
player
everything.
of the year last
Yeah,
year.
player of the year. And my favorite name is back, Jackson Rand. I just love that name. I think that name's destined to be in a headline in the Mirror
He's
someday.
gone. He
Jackson's-
graduated.
Oh.
Yeah.
I can't write that headline. But I know Zenobel is the one that I just remember always hearing his name on the radio or reading his name in the story. And then the last thing we would like to talk about real quick before we wrap things up, the teams to look out for and what we're excited about. I'll be curious because he's my brother, but I want to see what happens at Tyrone because those are kids that have no idea who he is. He's 9 years removed from that program, and you got to take my brother with a grain of salt because he can be very demanding. And I don't know what Jason was like, but I just think Jason probably was nicer to the kids than my brother would be. So I'm curious on how that's going to turn out. And I'm curious about Hollidaysburg for the simple fact that they don't have a lot of seniors on that team. And there's the team that went to, was it the semifinals last year before they got popped by that team out of Philly?
Quarters.
Yeah, quarters. So they don't have a lot of kids back. And I'm anxious to see Chestnut Ridge. They seem like they graduate a ton of people every year, but then Shoemaker just has them reloaded, and they do well.
Well, it's funny you mention your brother because he said to me that he wants to keep Coach Baker at Central coaching as long as possible so that John's not the oldest coach in the area. But as far as my teams to look out for, I'm really interested to see how Chestnut Ridge plays this year because Logan Pfister was amazing last year as a sophomore. They lost a lot of talent that the kids were good at other sports. But they still got Dwayne Nisley, who's an incredible athlete on that team. And I'm really interested to see how Chestnut Ridge does it. They were very close to knocking off Wilmington in the state playoffs last year, which was a team that went on to the state championship game. And I just think that Shoemaker's a great coach, and it'll be interesting to see what happens down there this year.
Do they have the big kid back? Well, Nisley's a big kid. Do they have that Cease kid back?
No, he graduated.
He was he was a monster.
He's one of the people they'll really have to replace.
Yeah. That's it for our first show. I imagine our director, Pat Waxmeister, is going to give me some tips on how to do better for next week. But until next week, when we will have week 0, it'll be week 0.
Technically,
right?
It's week 0, although
That's
people in the
PIAA
media
calls it that, right?
PIAA calls that, although no one in the media calls it that.
I'll call it that just to make the PIAA feel good. But for Mike Boyd and I'm Scott Franco, and if you haven't picked it up yet,
come out and get the Blitz. You got it. It's got 164 pages this year. 33 teams. We added Southern Huntington, Bellefonte, and Bald Eagle area, and it's just we also added conference previews, which include even more teams. Like this is the Laurel Highlands. We really put a lot of work into this. It's only $4.95, and it really helps when you support us and go out and get the magazine. So
Sheets,
it's
Martins.
It's a great thing to just sit down and read about before the season, and you get to experience, know what all these other teams you're going to be playing against have.
And we also have our insert, our high school football insert, which is an update that'll be out in the Mirror on Wednesday, August 21st. Again, for Mike Boyd and I'm Scott Franco, thanks for watching Mirror TV on YouTube.